Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. For anyone who's new, this is a series that I do every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time called Fallen World, and normally I'm live, but sometimes I do a pre-recorded episode like this one. But either way, it premieres at the same time. So, yeah, I started this series because I had a lot to say and I wanted a platform to say it. It was meant to be kind of like a podcast, but I made another series on my other channel. I always put the link to that channel in the description, and you should be able to find it on my main channel anyway. That channel is called Philosophical Psychology, and the series that I have on that channel is called Just Between Us. And that feels more like a podcast. It's more relaxed, it's more just me talking and sharing my opinions on topics. And this channel, this series, Fallen World, is meant to be more educational and to the point, where I'm just speaking on a topic and covering it and, you know, letting you know what's up with it. So this is less conversational and casual, which is why Just Between Us seemed like a more fitting title for that series. Excuse me, I have an itch. And I don't edit my videos. If I'm premiering them and it's a pre-recorded video, it's gonna still feel like a live stream because I don't make any changes to anything. So the only difference is that I can still see the live chat and I can still comment, but I just won't be commenting in the video itself. That's really the only difference. Which is a good thing because I do have a stalker who sometimes comes on and leaves comments from different accounts, and I'm trying to block all of them, but he always makes more somehow. He's not really like a personal stalker. He does this to a lot of YouTubers. I just feel like I stepped in gum. Like he just found my channel and I can't get rid of him. He's just a random person. I don't know anything about him. Nobody knows his real name, what he looks like, nothing. So yeah, anyway, let's just continue. It's kind of nice that I don't have to worry about if he comments. He won't distract me at all. I can just stay focused, and no, there won't be any comments to distract me. It's normally nice to see comments and hear people's thoughts on what I'm saying, but this guy, all he does is distract. He'll comment about some other YouTuber he watches, or say something creepy about me, just like weird stuff. So it's nice to have a break from that. But for those of you who are commenting on the topic, and you want to say something that I'm not going to address in the video, I will reply to you in the live chat. So let's get started. What are we talking about today? I wanted to talk about, I'm not sure what I'm going to title this video yet, but I wanted to talk about the morality of abortion and morality regarding murder and killing and stuff like that in general, because earlier today I was thinking, why is it so controversial to stand with Palestine when the situation, to my understanding, is that there are people getting murdered? And for some reason, it's controversial to say, don't murder people. Don't try to commit genocide. I know people say it's not genocide, but if you actually listen to what they're saying, finish the job, they're talking about like wiping them all out. The goal, genocide by definition, is exactly what they're doing, what they're talking about. So the goal is very clearly established, and I think it's rooted in racism, based on what I've seen, based on what I've learned, and it's just been branded as like a leftist take. It's like, oh, this is just leftism, you know? They're nuts. Everything they say is just virtue signaling, and they're crazy, and they don't even do their own research. They don't know what they're talking about. But on a surface level, if you just walk into this situation completely uneducated and you see one nation trying to wipe out another, or let me put it a little bit more clearly, a bunch of humans trying to kill another bunch of humans, and the bunch that's trying to be killed is practically defenseless, and most of them don't even know what's going on. A lot of the people getting killed are just like children, people who just, could not give less of a crap about any of the details of what's going on. They're just trying to survive, and they're being killed. How could you possibly say that that's justified? How could you possibly? Like, what in the world? The details aside, that is a situation you can never justify. But this is, it's become a U.S. political topic, and what happens in the U.S. is Americans love war. America has always been a country that starts wars and gets involved in wars, and they it's a mess, and it's been that way for a long time. And Americans, of course, are often fed propaganda to help them think that, that these wars are justified, that the people we're killing deserve it. And if you really knew every human in the world, if you think of a nation and you know everyone's name, you know what they look like, and you know who they are personally, you know their stories, could you possibly feel justified killing them? The only reason it's okay to justify killing them is because, you don't know them. You can just kind of dehumanize them and make them other in your mind and think of them as just these subhuman problems that need to be wiped out and taken care of. And that is the same reason I think people find it so easy to discriminate against minorities, people of color, LGBTQ plus people, women, anybody who's weird, anybody who's unusual. If you don't fit like the pretty much rich white Christian male, at least in the US, if you don't fit that description, you are seen as other. And it's become pretty much like if you're on the left or the right. But honestly, even people who are minorities can make their way over to the right, and I think they're just being stupid, because you're not gonna be welcomed as much as you seem to think you are. Like, people are gonna say nasty shit about you over there, and you're gonna just be completely deaf to it. You're not gonna hear the things that are being said about you. It's a shame. It's like, think of like Caitlyn Jenner, who's trans. She's received hate from the right, and yet she's pretty right-wing as far as I can tell. So, like, go figure this shit out. It doesn't make any sense. They hate trans people. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're on their side. If you're trans, you're not on their side. You are the enemy as far as they're concerned, because the right side of the political spectrum sees people as enemies and targets people. They're very much like into dehumanizing and justifying treating people like they're subhuman and turning a blind eye when they're literally murdered or beaten to death or just shot, because they don't care anything when it comes to like gun protection or safety or anything like that. So they'll just turn a blind eye to all of that. But it's delusional thinking. But I wanted to talk about abortion because that's what I thought of when I thought about, oh, well, how is being against murder even a political stance? Because I was watching a video of a guy talking about someone who said that they stand with Palestine and making it sound like it was this big political stance. And I'm like, I'm sorry, is being against murder some sort of big political statement? To me, it just sounds like the bare minimum of being a human being, sharing a planet with other human beings, is to not try to kill each other. But it is what it is. But then I thought to myself, hey, that's the same argument they use in abortion. I'm sure the people who are pro-life think that exact argument, which is that, they're against murder. So let's address that. Let's actually talk about it. Let's talk about what makes something moral and immoral. Let's talk about, abortion and if it's murder or not. If you couldn't already tell where I stand on the issue, I don't think abortion is murder. And I don't think there's anything immoral about it. However, I will explain why. Because, you may be thinking, oh, you're just one of those brain-dead liberals or leftists, or, you just don't think at all. I will have you know, if there's one thing I've learned over the years, don't follow anything blindly. Make sure you understand why you're going that way before you just follow the pack. If the pack starts going one direction, You say, where are we going? You get an answer before you start following them. You don't just follow blindly. So you need things to make sense. And you need to trust your intuition too, because sometimes your gut says just follow them. You don't need to trust it. You don't need to get an answer. You just need to go there, and then you find out why later. And because sometimes it's time sensitive. Sometimes you have to make a decision, and you don't always have time to figure out why that's right. But you just know that it is, because I think we all have gut instinct and intuition. But that's neither here nor there. My point is, I have figured out a way to explain it, and I want to do it in a pretty concise and clear way. I'm not going to waste too much more of your time. So let's start with the argument that abortion is murder. And you could say, well, of course everyone should be against abortion because everyone should be against murder. Like at the bare minimum, everyone should be against murder. Okay, well, do you realize that murder is when you kill another human being? A fetus inside the body of another human being is not a separate human being yet. It literally cannot exist outside of that person. The only way for you to access or acknowledge this human being you're so concerned about is to go through another human being, invading their privacy, invading their body. The only way for you to ensure that this human being you're obsessed with survives is to force another human being to go through an irreversible change in their body that can potentially be life-threatening, and there are just so many problems that can happen during pregnancy. It's a very, very personal and intimate experience to go through in life, being pregnant, giving birth, and no one should be forced to do either of those things. That is what it means to respect the autonomy of another human being. You're so concerned with the human growing inside that person, you're forgetting there's a person that they're growing inside of. And I'm gonna pull the sexism card here, because for real, imagine if it was a man, okay? If a guy was hanging out with his bros and he said, I don't know what happened, but some kind of magician, oh, here's perfect, God, right? God came down and said, you're the next Virgin Mary. I'm putting a baby inside you. You're going to have to birth it. And he said, how? And God said, you'll find out. So he doesn't know how this thing's coming out of him, but he's starting to see, his belly's getting a little bigger. He's realizing there's a baby starting to grow inside of him. So he tells his friends, he's like, hey, I'm pregnant. I have to give birth to this baby. And they're like, and he's like, I'm not sure if I want to do it, because I don't know where this thing's coming out of. I don't know I don't know if I'm even going to survive. Now let's take out the God context, because I would imagine it would play another factor if it was, if you genuinely believed that it was this magical sacrifice and you had proof that you were the next Virgin Mary or whatever, right? So let's just take that out of the equation and say that a guy just magically somehow is pregnant. All right. He has no real reason to think that this is unusual. He just thinks, hey, I'm pregnant. It's not that big of a deal. You know what? For the sake of really making it clear, let's say that one day some sort of, magical change happens among all men, where men have to give birth instead of women, right? And their bodies don't change in any way. It's still a man's body, it's still a woman's body, but men are the ones giving birth. Forgive me for the bad examples before. This is the one I'm sticking with, because this is the best way to imagine it. So you imagine a world where all of a sudden men have to give birth, and they're new to it. They don't know what's going on. It's just all of a sudden a guy is pregnant. He's talking to his friends, and he's like, I don't know if I want to go through with this. I don't think my body's built for it. I don't think I can grow this thing. And you're like, well, you're definitely able to, it'll just cause a lot of pain, it'll hurt, you might break your penis or your ass or wherever it comes out of. Something might pop. But, it's your duty. You have to do this because you've got a life growing inside of you. And if you don't completely destroy your body for the sake of this life, you're a murderer. And then you look at the guy in the eye and you say, Do you really imagine if it were in your body, would you really want your dick to break? And he looks down at his own dick and he's like, we'll get you to the clinic. And you know what I mean? I just cannot see a guy wanting to go through with this. That's the bottom line. I think the reason that people don't, because if it were a man, it would be like, oh God, I understand. I mean, yeah, the life inside you is important, but so are you, and your body is important. It should be your decision. And that's the problem. They don't think about women that way. And there are a lot of women who are pro-life, who have just been conditioned by the patriarchy to not see women as human beings, as equal to men. Women are seen as just machines to produce babies and take care of men. And what's so messed up about that is that a lot of them don't even realize how deeply programmed those ideas are into their head. And it's not based on any kind of logic, science, universal truth, intuition, nothing. It's just an idea that has been put in place in society for a long time. And it is hammered into your head from the time you're born of how we see each other. So women are seen as that's their duty. They have to give birth. And all of the complications, all of the things that make it an extremely traumatic experience are just, it's just, well, that's a woman's duty. She's just supposed to bleed every month. Like all these horrible things that happen to women. Women get no credit for it because it's just their duty. That's just what they're supposed to do. And men get to smugly say that it's a woman's duty to give birth. Every time a man says that he's pro-life, what I hear is that he is anti-woman. And even when I see a woman saying she's pro-life, I see a woman who's against herself, who doesn't want to have the autonomy to decide if she wants to do what she wants to do with her own body. And every time they try to divert the argument and say, no, it's about the fetus inside the woman. Is it really that easy for you to completely look past the person carrying the fetus, pretend that she doesn't exist, that she's not important, that she's a bad person if she doesn't want to give birth? Come on, it's insane. So now let's talk about practical issues. First of all, a lot of these people who say that they're anti-murder and pro-life are in favor of the death penalty, which objectively is murder, because murder is when you kill someone who's defenseless. Murder is when you kill someone outside of the context of self-defense. If that person is attacking you and gives you no choice, yes, you have to kill them. They're on top of you, they've got a knife, and you manage to turn the knife around. You didn't murder them. You defended yourself. But if someone is just sitting in a cell and you walk them to a room and handcuffed and you set them on a table, strap them down and give them a lethal injection, you murdered someone. You may think that they committed some horrible, unspeakable crime, but what kind of weird, biblical, righteous thinking is that? That's not based on anything logical or scientific. That's just you thinking that revenge is sometimes okay, that someone is beyond saving, which also presumes that you think you know what happens after you die. What if it's the case where when you die, you still exist as a soul, and you still have more work to do as a being, and you have to reincarnate and keep learning and learning? If that is the case, then being killed doesn't get you out of it, doesn't change anything. You're just going to reincarnate, and you're going to have to learn it all over again. And you could have maybe learned it without dying. You could have maybe learned it in that same life, had you been given more time. Had someone maybe actually treated you like you weren't just disposable. When you were in prison, if you had been instead being taken care of, given attention from professionals, still acknowledging whatever crime you might have committed, and staying safe from you, but actually treating you like you matter. Maybe eventually you could have come out of it and turned your life around. And maybe not, but at least it would have been your choice. At least you would have been the one not making the right decision, and it wouldn't have been made for you. Someone wouldn't have taken that opportunity from you. There's no reason, given the amount of money and resources that we have, the amount of billionaires in the world, that we couldn't fund a society where we can actually take care of criminals and help them, rehabilitate them indefinitely, until it works. There's no deadline where it's like, and then you're thrown out. Because again, that presumes that you know what happens when you die, which we just don't. If we could rule out what I said, which we never will be able to because I truly think that's how it works, and prove that you just stop existing when you die, then maybe, it wouldn't matter if you kill someone. But by that logic, why not just kill everyone? Why anyone bother existing at all if we're all just going to stop existing eventually anyway? Then what's the point? Why not just skip to the end? So, you know, but I'm not here to have that argument. I don't want to get too distracted with that. So, you know, a lot of these people are in favor of the death penalty. The death penalty is murder. It just is. And I know that's controversial. I know some people are like, well, I think some people deserve to die. I get it. I do. But that's coming from an emotional place. I know you don't want to hear that, but it's the truth. As much as you want to believe some people are disposable and don't deserve to exist, they're going to exist either way, you know? And you have to understand that killing them is not going to help anything. They deserve to be kept away from other people until they're proven to be safe to be around, and in that time, they should be given care and treatment by professionals who treat them like they matter. To me, that doesn't sound unreasonable. I know you might think, oh, but if they do this or that, then there's no way. They're irredeemable. Maybe so. Maybe they're never going to change, but at least you're not making that decision for them. I think everyone has the option to change. I think they just choose not to. I think some people are extremely unlikely to change. Nothing will ever mean that they can't. It's just that they're not choosing to. So, pro-life but pro-death penalty. That's insane. That is insanity right there. What else? Oh yeah, a lot of the women, and this is just statistically accurate, this is just what's going on, because of the laws put into place after Roe v. Wade was overturned and after, you know, a lot of Republicans and pro-life lunatics have put laws into place, doctors are afraid to treat women who are, you know, like having miscarriages or having problems with their birth. The situation is that women are basically being turned away because the doctor doesn't want to be accused of performing an abortion. So women are being turned away, and they're like, you know, some of them are just dying. Women are dying because of this. And some other complications, they're losing their baby in a really even more traumatic way. They survive, but the baby doesn't, and then it, you know, and it could have maybe been helped, or it could have been done in a more humane way and quickly, kind of like how you put your dog to sleep. Like, why is that okay? It's also so weird how these people are against, like, assisted suicide. Like, you do that with your animal. If your pet is in pain and suffering, you know, even my grandma earlier today was just talking about how she feels bad that she didn't put one of my dogs down sooner. She was thinking, oh, she was in so much pain towards the end of her life. I wished I put her down sooner. This is how we treat our pets. This is how we treat our animals. Why don't we treat each other like this? Why do you want to see someone in pain, suffering? I'll tell you why. Because you've been brainwashed by people who are profiting off of that. You know, we have a for-profit medical system in the US, and when you have someone on life support and stuff, like, it costs money. People are benefiting from this, and billionaires are kind of in charge of everything. That's not a conspiracy. That's just, if you pay attention, that's just a reality. Money is power, and it shouldn't be, but it is, and there's really nothing to keep it in check. I think capitalism could be to blame for that, but again, not relevant to this video. But seriously, there are just people who are benefiting from taking advantage of people. There's really nothing to keep business honest, and integrity, none of that. They just take advantage of people, they do all sorts of things, and they lie about their motive for things. Again, same is true with the gun stuff. It's about money. They've tricked you into thinking that it's your right as a human being to own a gun. Ridiculous. And people buy into it. People don't seem to know how to use their brains or their hearts. I mean, good God, you're watching children die in school from gun violence, and you don't even, your heart says, nope, I don't care. It's my right to own a gun. Who even are you? Like, do you have any personality outside of being obsessed with your rights that are being taken away? Like, just these people just seem like they're freaking soul dead. Every single one of them that I've seen, that I hear from, they sound insane because their takes are insane and they're not based on logic at all. You know, so women are dying because of pro-life laws. These pro-life laws are not only resulting in women dying, but the babies too. It's causing all sorts of problems. And that's because you're taking away someone's choice to handle their own body. It should be between a woman and her doctor. If the doctor says an abortion is healthy, is necessary for the woman, again, The woman matters. She exists. You can't just say, oh, but the baby, the baby, the baby. The baby doesn't exist yet. The baby literally can't exist outside of the woman without first going through the woman. Therefore, it should be up to the woman. And you say, oh, well, if the baby had a say in it, the baby would respect that because the baby does not have a bias yet. The baby doesn't feel entitled to life. The baby's just, doesn't have an opinion or anything. It's just here and it's like on its way, not quite here yet. Do any of you remember being in the womb? Do any of you? Good God. Anyway. Yeah, what else do people say? I think I covered most of it. People try to make it the life begins at conception, a fetus is a human being. All of this is just nonsense. It's just propaganda. Don't buy into any of that. It's just put there to make you forget the one most important truth that should shine above all else, and that is that every human being deserves the right to their autonomy. They should not be forced to make decisions about their body. And I think the same goes for like even circumcision. I think circumcision is genital mutilation. Same thing if you have like an intersex baby, someone who's born with, like a mixed body parts, like, they're not all male or not all female, and then they just perform a surgery on the baby and decide, what the baby's going to be. Again, that should be considered genital mutilation, and it should be illegal. It should be punishable, because what kind of a person looks at a brand new infant, a baby, and says, hand me the scissors? Where is your heart, man? I mean, good God, I don't understand how this shit takes place in the world. People really are just like soul dead. They're just like drones, just floating around, doing their job like a cog in a machine, forgetting to actually breathe and remember their humanity and say, what is this all for? What does it even matter if I have no integrity, if I have no soul? The irony is a lot of these people are religious and believe in hell. You'd think that would scare them into being a better person, and they'd be afraid for their immortal soul. But the problem with the version of heaven and hell that they are taught is that it teaches forgiveness, and that you can pray for forgiveness and you can be forgiven and your soul can be saved. All you have to do is repent. So these people, and don't underestimate either the power of cognitive dissonance and lying to yourself. When you start justifying things and making excuses, you can find any way to twist something into being right, even if it isn't. So people really need to develop a better sense of integrity and hold each other accountable. We need to hold each other accountable, because clearly we can't hold ourselves accountable. We're not good at that. So yeah, anything else? Assisted suicide, death penalty, abortion, gun violence. My only thoughts on gun violence are, I don't know why you need a gun to protect yourself. There are a number of creative ways to keep yourself safe from violence. A number of weapons you could use to protect yourself or defend yourself. You could even have more defensive weapons that are designed not to kill or injure another person, but to mainly shield yourself. There's a number of things you can come up with. They're like, seriously, just use your imagination and go looking for ways to protect yourself. It doesn't have to be a gun. There's no need for it to be a gun, especially when guns contribute to so much unnecessary death. And again, guns don't kill people. People kill people. I know, and people are gonna keep killing people if you keep giving them guns. It makes it easier for people to kill people, don't you realize? If someone goes into a school with a sword, how many people do you think they're going to kill before they're arrested? If someone goes into a school with an AR-15, I guarantee you that number is going to be a lot higher, and they're going to be a lot more dangerous to take down. So, yeah, it's unnecessary. It's just unnecessary. I don't get it. I don't get why people care. I don't understand what the problem would be with just leaving guns up to like professionals, like police. But oh god, that's a whole other topic. Personally, I just don't think guns should have ever existed in the first place, and I would not mind a future where they don't exist, where they're just, phased out. But I don't know if that's ever gonna happen. I would love to see it. I'll participate. I'll never touch a gun. I'll never use a gun. I'll never own a gun. You can hold me to it. The only way I would ever do it is if, like, I was in a situation where someone was trying to kill me with a gun and I managed to get it out of their hands instead. But other than that, I would never go out of my way to use a gun. But likely I wouldn't be able to get it from them because that's just how dangerous guns are. If someone's ever trying to kill me with a gun, I'm probably gonna die. Even if I had a gun on me, because you know how easy it is to just blow someone away before they even have a chance to realize you're there. You can pull one out. So I could get shot just going shopping. Someone could just come out of nowhere at one of the aisles, just blow me away. It happens. There's shootings in grocery stores. You can get shot anywhere. And you're not always going to have a chance to get your gun out to defend yourself. That's not how it works. Maybe someone will do it after a few people have already been shot. They'll sneak up on the shooter. Maybe. But that's post-fatalities. So, just don't make it so easy for the person who wants to kill people to get a gun in the first place. What else was I saying? There was one more thing that I started a thought and I feel like I didn't finish it. Police. Yeah, that's a whole mess. I think we really need to rebuild the way that we think of protecting citizens. That whole concept needs to be rebuilt from the ground up because what it is currently is so insanely messy and has resulted in so much, again, unnecessary suffering and death. And it's so corrupt, too. There's even rules like they need to have a certain number of arrests, and they'll just invent reasons to mess with you. And I want to ask you, just something for you to ponder, consider this homework, because I'm going to end the video. Can you remember a time in your life when the police were something you were grateful for rather than afraid of? And if you can remember a time, what is the ratio? How many instances in your life have you been, thank God the police are here, versus the police are here? Police are such a dominating, frightening presence, and they carry that energy intentionally. They do not make you feel safe. They make you feel intimidated. They make you feel unsafe, like you're in trouble. And you might not have even done anything. That's the worst part. You might not have even done anything, and the police could just scare the shit out of you. Because, like I said, they abuse their power. They won't even tell you what your rights are most of the time. They'll hope that you don't know what you're doing, and that you don't know your rights. And then they'll take advantage of that. So, it happens. Anyway, think that over. It's a different topic I could maybe cover next week. I could try to do some research and prepare and do a video on the police corruption, but I don't think there's really too much more to say than what I already said, if I'm being honest. Do your own research, man. I don't know what to tell you. If what I'm saying is just gobbledygook to you, do your own research, because I promise you there's a lot more than just taking my word for it. So, thank you for watching. Have a good night, and share your thoughts in the comments. I like having further discussion.